Mark Cuban said that if he were still the majority owner of the Mavericks, the trade sending Luka Doncic to the Lakers would never have happened. In February 2025, the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a future first-round draft pick. This unexpected move led to widespread reactions across the NBA community. ESPN analyst Stephen A. Smith expressed his astonishment, stating, "I'm shocked like most, if not the entire basketball world, appears to be." He emphasized that such a trade was unforeseen, especially from the Mavericks side. Mark Cuban, the former majority owner of the Mavericks, clarified that he had no involvement in the decision-making process of this trade. Having sold his majority stake to the Adelson family in late 2023, Cuban stepped back from daily operations. He confirmed his non-involvement, noting that the trade decisions were primarily made by Mavericks general manager Nico Harrison. In a text exchange with former Mavericks player Chandler Parsons, Cuban expressed his own confusion about the trade. Parsons shared that he texted Cuban saying, "I'm so confused," to which Cuban responded, "That makes two of us."
The most obvious question you have ever been asked, because we all know the answer. If Mark Cuban is still the owner for the Dallas Mavericks, majority and otherwise, is Luka Doncic in LA or is he still in Dallas?
I think he's here, yeah.
Could you have ever imagined yourself trading Luka Doncic?
No.
Can you explain why the hell they came to that conclusion?
I don't know.
You still don't know?
I've heard, Nico is, I've heard what Nico said publicly, privately, and they align. And so, Nico felt it was the best decision, and Patrick Dumont agreed with them at the time, and they made that decision. And, that's the way the NBA works.
Could you educate my audience as to what words were said as to why Luka Doncic was being traded?
Nico decided that, defense wins championships, and he thought that Anthony Davis would be a better anchor for our defense. And look, the truth is between AD, Derek Lively, and Derek Gafford, that's the best big three in the NBA. But Luka Doncic is a generational talent. So, while there's an argument to be made, and I understand where Nico's coming from, it's just not the same decision I would have made.
So when they told you, where were you, and did you collapse in front of their face? Did you go ballistic? What was your immediate reaction upon hearing the news that this generational talent, 6 years younger than the talent that you was bringing in, although Anthony Davis is a big-time player? What was your immediate reaction in the moment when you were first told the news?
I was like, "You're asking me, right? This isn't done." And he was like, "No, it's done." And I was like, "Okay, nothing more to talk about. I wouldn't have done this. And, thanks for giving me the call."
Who did you say that to? Who called you?
Nico.
Wow. One of the things that was reported, Mark Cuban, is that throughout his years, as much of a generational talent as we all know Luka to be, his dad spoke out in the immediate aftermath of the trade because of the cynicism that was thrown in Luka's direction. Doing his own thing, marching to the beat of his own drum, controlling his circle to some degree, strength and conditioning, etc., being in shape, all of these different things. Was it fair criticism? Was it exaggerated? Was he being maligned unnecessarily in your eyes?
Look, everybody saw him. It wasn't like he was ripped and had a six-pack. But what I think what the biggest mistake was in trying to understand Luka is he's from the Balkans, right? He's Slovenian, and you look at Jokic, who's Serbian, and you look at Serbian players in general. There's just a different mindset, right? They look at the game different. They look at life differently. They're emotionally, the guys that I've gotten to know from that region of the world are different. And I think that was what was not considered as fully as it should have been. That you've got to understand what people are like, what their backgrounds are like, who they are personally, what their families are like, how they interact with other people. And from that part of the world, in my experiences, Luka was just, other than the basketball talent, he was just like every other guy. And, and I think that was one of the reasons he loves to play with the Slovenian team. He relates so well to all the other players from that part of the world. And, over the summers, that's who he's hanging out with. That's who he is. And so I don't think that we truly took the time to understand that. And I think that really led to this decision, and that really underpinned this decision, that lack of attention to that issue. And I think here we are.
Mark, educate us when you say he was a bit different. Not so much about him, but about those players from Europe compared to American players. And you say he's a bit different. Folks needed to understand that kind of thing. What are the kind of things that you noticed about him and about players from overseas, from Europe, et cetera, and how different they are?
Not even overseas, the Balkan players,
the
right?
Balkan players. How are they different?
If you've never seen a game in Serbia,
okay,
they're going, like Jokic has said before. Joker said, oh, guys are yelling at me. No, dude, have you ever seen a game in Serbia? And you watch them, that's where you see the videos of the entire stadium bouncing up and down. Right. And, look at Jokic's brothers. They're aggressive, right? They don't put up with anything. When we had Boban was a big teddy bear, but he could be aggressive too on the court. And so just that mindset that when you're on the court, your intensity is at a different level, and you see that with Jokic, you see that with Luka, you see that with other players, and that historically has been who they are. And you have to understand where people are from in the world. That culture, the culture you grow up in makes a difference into who you are as an athlete, as a professional in any sport, and as a business person for that matter.
Is that good for the NBA in this day and age? Is it what's needed?
Yes, it's great, right? Because, the beauty of the NBA is that we accept all cultures from around the world, because they're all different. And that's what makes us unique, in that we're very, very accepting no matter where you are from. And I think it's amazing, and, when you see Luka, like when I went to LA with my son, when we played there against him for the first time, and I told him I was going to boo him when he was on the free throw line. So I did. And I was smiling and laughing. And he was, he got really intense, because he's always really intense on the court. Always. You see his response to the referees. You see his responses to anybody. He is intense. And while, Joker may not be as purely emotional, and I don't get to see as many of his games, the guy is intense, but when the game is over and he goes back home, he's more interested in harness racing, which, by the way, I grew up watching my entire life, so I don't blame him. But, they go back and they live their lives. It's just different. And you've got to accept those differences in players from that part of the world. And I think that was part of our mistake.
Well, listen, the way you describe Luka and players from that part of the world, it sounds a lot like Mark Cuban, and I don't recall you being born in the Balkans. I mean, your intensity level, you're known for it. But go ahead.
Let me just tell you, one grandparent's from Lithuania.
Okay.
Multiple from Ukraine.
Okay.
One, so I got that in my blood, Stephen A.
I got you. Absolutely.
Did Mark Cuban truly have no say or knowledge about the Luka for Anthony Davis trade? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.